All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Your thoughts on any games coming up this weekend, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. We'll get back into the SEC championship game a little bit. Big Ten title game. We'll discuss that with Bobby Carpenter at 8:20. I did want to get to some new coaching hires as well. We'll do that coming up in this hour. Not just head coaches, but some assistants that have been hired across college football, mainly in the Southeastern Conference. We have some new hires here in the state of Alabama that we need to get to as well. We'll discuss some of those. Before we do any of that, GMAC, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across the country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, so SEC championship game again. I want to know where fans are on this game. How do you view it? What do you think about it? Maybe what are you looking at to say, hey, this has to happen. This needs to happen. What are you worried about, concerned about? Kalen DeBoer discussed the narrative for Alabama heading into this game yesterday as well.
I mean, it kind of blows my mind, as that's the exact words I used before, that we're really having this debate. I don't say that with any arrogance, because I understand there's a lot of good football teams out there, but we earned getting to this point. We're 4-1 against ranked teams. I mean, we're 2 points away from being 5-0 against ranked teams throughout the year. Every A4 team except for Wisconsin that we played this season, before, during, or after us, was ranked. And again, a 7-1 record, almost 8-0, 2 points from being 8-0. 4-0 on the road in the SEC, that jumps out at me. That's hard to do in the environments. Our guys have been tested, and teams coming off buys. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's our guys have been tested, and we get to this point. We are playoff ready. We are focused on this game. We have not had one conversation about that, but we want to take care of business this Saturday and enjoy, again, the opportunity that lies right in front of us to play in the SEC championship.
So that's Kalen DeBoer on this game, on just sort of the narrative that Alabama needs to win to make the college football playoff. Greg, we've discussed this already. You're not buying that. I'm not buying that. But how close is it, do you think? How close is that margin of, if Alabama were to lose, they'll be hanging on by the edge of their seat to get into this playoff field?
I mean, I have a hard time seeing it. They won the regular season in the SEC. Like that matters. Even in defeat, they're the only team in the country that has beaten the SEC champion. So they're either the SEC champion or they have the best win in college football. You choose. I think they're definitely in the field, but a lot can be gained, especially looking at the current circumstances around the roster. Anyone that's like, winning is great, but if we lose, we're still in. Like, that's a fine outlook. If you want to have that outlook, whatever. I don't align with that personally. Like, I want to win always, and I think most people want to as well. Now, I'm not comforted in knowing that there's a little bit of a safety net for sure, but the reality is this is a roster that's remarkably beat up right now. Josh Cuevas is beat up. LT Overton is beat up. A handful of guys are just banged. Jam Miller banged up. I mean, look at how many guys are currently on the injury report. It's absurd. So tell me, and I know that last year the buys were not advantageous for the teams that got them. I get it. But I think for this team and this season, getting a bye is enormous. And I do think in victory, Alabama would get a bye. I know others don't necessarily agree with that. I think they would. I feel pretty confident that they would, to be honest with you. So they get a bye. That means they have an extra 12 days to heal up and be at 100%, and then go play in the Sugar Bowl. That's a pretty good spot to be in, and that is remarkably familiar territory for Alabama. So I think there's a lot that can be gained in victory. I think it's one of those situations where you got nothing to lose, You got everything to gain. If you got to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs, so be it. It is what it is. But having that bye, having the extra time to heal up and to get guys close to 100%, to get Cuevas back potentially, to get Jam Miller back to as close to 100% as he's been all year, to get LT Overton back as close to 100% as he's been all year, is just really, really big opportunity. Really big. So I think it's huge, and I think getting a win would be massive. And to go to New Orleans, by the way. Yeah. New Orleans, guys, which is, I mean, a place that has long been very, very good for Alabama.
No, Bama fans show up in New Orleans. Bama fans show up in New Orleans. That's not really even debatable. We know that. So let's flip that around. What are the parameters for Georgia here? What's necessarily to gain? What's potentially to lose for you when you talk about where Georgia would fit into this playoff field?
Well, I do think Georgia is going to have a bye or a first-round home playoff game. So either one's pretty good, right? I think that they drop probably in the event in which they lose. They won't drop below Ole Miss, who's 6. So I think they would drop to Ole Miss. Alabama would, of course, step up into the top 4. I think that Texas Tech could lock up a bye, and I do think whoever's 1-2, the loser is going to still probably have a bye, if I were to guess. Between Indiana and Ohio State, depending on how sideways that game might get. Because you can't drop them below Oregon. Oregon didn't have to play. Indiana beat Oregon. They'll be ahead of them if they lose. Ohio State's been the best team all year. They'll drop to 4. They might have to play Oregon in the second round, but so be it. That one's probably situated. That one's probably good to go. So I think for Georgia, they'd probably fall to 6, which is not the end of the world for them. They'd play against either the ACC champion in Virginia or they'd play against Tulane/North Texas in the first round in Athens. Pretty good spot to be in. Not bad at all this year, especially. But yeah, I mean, I think for Georgia too, who's also beat up without their center and with, some guys that have, I'm sure, strained this season, having an extra couple weeks to prepare as well would be pretty significant. So I think the buys are going to be helpful this year. Last year was just a unique circumstance where 2 of the 4 teams that got the first round bye were not deserving of a first round bye in Arizona State and Boise State. So that right there, you can kind of throw those matchups out the window. And obviously Oregon ran into a buzzsaw, and so did Georgia last year. So I think it's going to be fine for the teams that get the bye this year. I think that will overcorrect, and I think the teams will get the bye will be 3-1, maybe better this year, depending on how the matchups sort out.
Hey, I want to get to a tweet coming into the show. You guys can always be a part, excuse me, at Mac and Cube. You can text into the show, 205-834-9450. Hit us up on the Higginbotham hotline, 800-239-9569. Watch us live on YouTube every day. Search Jocks945. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this might be the end-all, be-all. But it is something that I have not really considered and thought about heading into this game. I think it's potentially a great point by Jeremy Todd, who listens to the show. He tweets in at Mac and Cube. Another reason Bama looks in control is that Ty Simpson saw this defensive structure on scout team, spring and fall camp under Saban. It can't hurt.
No. You've played against the match, but honestly, if you look at Georgia, they've kind of evolved. It's not exactly Saban.
It's not exactly the same, but just
no.
As far as seeing some of the tendencies of it and maybe even just seeing how it starts pre-snap.
Yes.
Could be of benefit for Ty Simpson. I think it's a good point and something that does lean just a little bit more in Alabama's favor.
I just know this. As a first-year starting quarterback in my 4th season, I remember going into the SEC championship game with a spot in the BCS championship on the line and literally playing with as if I had nothing to lose, letting it rip and having probably the best game of my career against Florida in 2009. Like, I remember that feeling of freedom. I think Ty probably going into this game has the exact same feeling. It was kind of the same way when they played him the first time. How free did he play in that first game? Like, I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to let it rip and see what happens. Like, I think that there's something about playing against a great team like Georgia when they're that good, and I think their defense is excellent, and Georgia's the team that has traditionally had something to lose. And in time, Bama has been the team that's had something to lose. Like, oh man, we lose this game. We lose this game, it's going to be tough. We lose this game, it could be tough. At South Carolina, man, we can't lose this game. Got to, against Vandy. Oh man, we can't lose this game. Like being the attacker as opposed or the team that's on the run that doesn't have the target. And I think Ty has responded well in that scenario as well. I think that's why Ty played so well the first time around. It's like Georgia had everything to lose. Bama had everything to gain. And you could say, well, a second loss in the game would have been a devastating blow. Yeah, but who cares? Like, your season's already over anyways. Like, at that point, everyone's like, oh, at 2-1, Bama's got no shot. They can't run this gauntlet. All right, I'll show you. I think that's freeing. So, yes, familiarity, having played against systems, great. But I think it's more the mindset going into the game that you have nothing to lose. Let it rip is what's most advantageous to going into a matchup like this.
Absolutely. All right, so a lot going into this game, a lot to discuss surrounding this game. Kirby Smart and his Georgia Bulldogs, kind of the mentality that they're bringing in to this matchup, asking if it feels like maybe a playoff game.
Well, every game's a playoff game because for us, every game to this point would have probably taken, us out of the SEC championship game or out of the playoffs. So, your back's against the wall every week in this conference. It's not new to either team. So it's the next one, and you can't make it bigger than it is. It's a big moment. It's a chance for an SEC championship. And around our place, they put numbers up, in the banners in the hallways for when you win SEC championships, and that's significant to me. These kids, these players, they want an opportunity to win this conference. They mostly grew up around this conference, and they know how hard it is to achieve an SEC championship. So we want to be at our best, and we got a elite opponent to go against to do it.
I'm not taking anything away from any other coach here, but I do, number one, love to hear Kirby Smart keeping the emphasis there on what this means. And I find it probably impossible for him not to, Greg. You think about when he played, kind of when he came up, and what that has meant throughout his time early as a head coach, and then obviously as a player, and then as an assistant coach. I mean, that was the game. That was the deal. Like, winning the SEC championship was massive. It was probably the primary goal, if not winning your division or beating your rivals when he was playing football and when he was coming up. So I love to hear him maintain the emphasis on it and just hear to him what it means to he and his program.
Yeah, I think it's awesome to know that is not fleeting. That still matters. And I think it does to most people. I think those that didn't play, those that I'm not saying like, people that cover the sport from a national perspective maybe lose sight of the importance within the locker room of accomplishing your first goal as a team. What was your first goal every year? Remind me.
Win our opener. This is how I win in order.
So you really wanted to beat Mercer?
Win the opener.
Yeah.
Win the division. Beat your rivals. Win the conference championship.
Beat our rivals was 1. Win the conference was 2. That was the most important. Those are the most important things. And I don't think, even though the landscape's changed, I don't think that's changed. Fans, writers focus on the playoff. I still think the conference championship very much matters to people. Hanging a banner in the locker room, it matters. And I'm glad that hasn't gone away with the changes that we've seen in college football.
It's not going to go away for guys like Kirby Smart. And the media and other people can try to dismiss them or diminish them, but as long as it still continues to aid you and lead you into the things that it does in our new postseason, I think it's going to be easy for him to maintain sort of what it is and where it's going. So it's a lot of us in the media, a lot of different folks like to sort of discount now conference championships, championship games. But guys like Kirby Smart are not going to let that happen. It's not going to take place. I will say I have been thinking a little bit more about conference championship games and championship Saturday, and I've kind of come to the conclusion myself, Greg, that going back to Brian Kelly, I hate to quote a coach that's been fired, but it only takes one. All you need is one of these teams getting jobbed in the postseason. And I just imagine the rate that things would change dramatically if that takes place. If Alabama were to lose this game and somehow not be in the playoff, do you believe, yes or no, right now, that there's some sort of tweak to the conference championship game as early as next year?
I think there's going to be conference championship tweaks across the board. And I do think what might be most important in the future for some of the leagues, maybe not as much the SEC, but in 9-game conference schedules, there'll be a little more interconnectivity, and you won't see as big a disparity when it comes to the schedule strength for some teams. For example, for Florida to have played the hardest schedule in college football, and for Ole Miss to have played the 40th strength of schedule in college football, that's a massive gap. And that's in the same conference. Think about how hard that is to have a 39-spot gap between one team in your league and the other team in your league.
Hold on real quick, though. I'm just curious. How much difference do you think Miami and South Florida make in that?
Big.
Like 20
huge
spots?
Difference. No, gosh, no. I don't think it's that much.
Seriously? I think it might.
And well, all right. Well, answer me this: A&M played Notre Dame, right? Pretty good strength of schedule. A&M played
Samford.
seven of A&M's 8 teams that they played this year in the SEC finished 500 or worse in Southeastern Conference play. So, like, conference schedules are just not created equally. They're just not. And I understand that, and they've tried very hard. And I think the biggest example of this right now is the ACC. Like, if I were the ACC and I am fighting hard for massive relevance as it relates to the college football playoff, I'm taking my top 2 teams by staggering ratings or by all these other ratings, use the BCS formula to determine my top 2 teams, and those are the 2 teams that are playing in Charlotte. That's what I do, because I think first of all, these tiebreakers are impossible to figure out. Even as someone that lives the sport every day, you do too. Do you understand how to explain these things?
Not all the time, no.
I don't either. Common opponent win-loss percentage against on the road when games played before 3:45 p.m. Eastern. Like, what are we doing? I mean, they're too complex. And I know the presidents and the ADs and the commissioners all understand them. I don't. I think the common fan struggles with it. So why can't we just adopt universally the mindset that we see in the American Conference, where they say, hey, y'all tell us who the top 2 teams are. They're the top. They're going to play in the conference championship. The team that's ranked ahead of the other will host, and we'll call it a day, because we want the best possible chance of getting into the postseason. And the best possible chance is by taking our 2 best teams based on Sagarin ratings, net ratings, RPI, all this other nonsense. Put those 2 teams in the conference championship and let them tee it up.
You know, it's not.
And I think.
Wait, go ahead.
I mean, I think, like, right now, how much would Miami love to have a chance to be in the conference championship this weekend for the ACC playing against Virginia?
A lot.
And it works out in some cases, like Texas Tech and BYU are the 2 best teams. That's great. Put them in. And I think most of the time, the 2 best teams based on ranking will be reflected based on the conference record. I don't think you're going to have a team that's 5-3 in the SEC that's playing in the conference championship game. Probably not, right? They're going to be 7-1, 6-2 at worst. So I think it would probably work itself out most of the time, but who knows?
But it's an interesting thought that you brought up about Ole Miss. You look at that schedule. Yeah, they played at Georgia. They played at Oklahoma. That's tough. It's really tough. Next best win might be Tulane.
It is their next best win.
Georgia State, Kentucky, LSU, Washington State, South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State. They played 4 teams that fired their coach this year.
Maybe they fired him because Ole Miss beat him.
Probably. It's an interesting kind of peek at the schedule and kind of what it is and how it played out for them. Either way, we got to talk about the Big Ten title game. We're going to do that on the other side when we come back. First, I have to remind you about Andrews Sports Medicine. Listen, I've had surgery at Andrews Sports Medicine. My wife has had surgery at Andrews Sports Medicine. I, unfortunately, have had numerous surgeries at Andrews Sports Medicine. There's a reason. Auburn Athletics hand-selected Dr. Benson Immelman and Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tiger student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrews Sports Medicine is the choice for Auburn Athletics, there's no doubt they should be your family's number one choice for sports medicine and orthopedic care. Andrews Sports Medicine has 7 locations across Central Alabama: Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, Trussville. They offer same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit AndrewSportsMedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. Bobby Carpenter, former Ohio State linebacker, talks Big Ten title game with us next, right here on Jocks.
Welcome back. McElroy, Cubelic in the morning, 9:24 Eastern here in Charlotte, 8:24 back at home. Hope everybody's Friday is off to a terrific start. We have a great slate of games coming up tonight. 4 conference championship games going down and 1 that is a college football playoff game. That's the American Championship. That'll be played tonight. I believe it's 6:30 on ABC. It'll be the North Texas Mean Green against the Tulane Green Wave. A lot of green represented in that matchup tonight. You want some green? You want to save some green? Go ahead and check out Bill Smith Buick GMC. They're going to save $12,000, $15,000 off GMC Sierras. These are deals that are off the charts. Like a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, that is $15,000, dollars off the sticker price. I mean, that's a deal that's ridiculous. $67,700 is what you pay elsewhere. You get it for $52,700 at Bill Smith. You can get the 2500 Denali Ultimate for $12,000 off. $97,500 is what you pay elsewhere. You can get it for $85,500 at Bill Smith. And those deals are all over the lot. You can find them on a bunch of different vehicles. And I highly recommend going and checking out Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager's inventory. It's amazing. Here at the end of the year is a really great time to go in and get a great deal. The 2026s are here. You can start to get an advance on those as well. And it's just outstanding stuff that you can go and see from the GMC Dealer of the Year. It's a short drive up to Coleman, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at Bill Smith Buick, GMC.com.
All right, Bobby Carpenter played his college football at Ohio State. You can hear him now on SiriusXM talking college football. Bobby, this Big Ten title game, had to get you on to discuss it. I'm interested from your perspective, specifically the defensive lens. Where does Indiana and their balanced attack most likely look to go after this Ohio State defense in this matchup?
I think Indiana's been successful all year because they've been very balanced on offense. And you obviously look at how good Fernando Mendoza's been. He's done a great job in the pocket. The guy makes quick reads. He's tall. He's athletic. He can run. He doesn't necessarily love to run. I think, to necessarily gain yards and scramble, but he scrambles to buy time for the pass.
All right, we're gonna try Bobby's cell phone again there. I think it was breaking up on us just a little bit though, so we'll try that again. See what we can do when we get him back on. Same question for you, Greg. Indiana attacking this defense. Where, how do you believe they try to at least start out going after him?
Well, is there a team that you've seen this year that can throw it and run it that Ohio State's played?
No, and definitely not to this extent, no.
No. And I don't think there's a team this year that Ohio State's played that can win one-on-one matchups on the outside. Like, tell me a team right now that has scary receivers that they've seen. Like, okay, Texas.
Yeah,
but
Texas didn't know who they were then, though.
No clue. Washington, I think, has a couple good wideouts for sure and a nice back. I think Washington moved the ball on them. They had 2 28-yard field goals that they had to settle for. So that 2 28-yard field goals, I mean, that's 8 points off the board right there. I mean, that game was probably a little bit closer than you realize because Washington couldn't score when they got in the red zone. I think Indiana can. So, and other than that, like Penn State's wideouts don't scare me. Wisconsin's wideouts don't scare me. Illinois' don't. Minnesota's don't. Purdue's don't. UCLA's don't. Rutgers don't. Michigan has one, but they don't have a quarterback. So I don't think that Ohio State has seen a team that's anywhere near this well-built. And I think this will be by far their biggest test of the year.
All right, Bobby Carpenter back with us on the Higginbotham hotline. Had a little issues with the cell phone there. Bobby, sorry about that. Take us back into where you think Indiana may attempt to attack this Ohio State defense, please.
I apologize for that, guys. Yeah, they've been balanced all year, and that's what's made Fernando Mendoza as good as he's been. Is they've been able to line up and run the ball, run it effectively. They stay ahead of the chains. They've been able to, see those third and shorts. That's why they're so efficient. That's why they've been able to score the ball at such a high clip. Watch what they did in Illinois. You saw what they did up in Oregon, and they've been very, very good. 2 good receivers on the outside. Cooper, obviously, and Surratt. Those guys can make plays. So it's going to be a nice challenge and test for them. But I think that their goal for Indiana is going to be to stay balanced. Because as soon as that begins to sway one way or another, this Ohio State defense is so good up front. Being able to get after Matt Patricia's got a lot of creative stuff going on in the back end. And if you become one-dimensional, it becomes a really, really hard day for the quarterback.
All right, so on the flip side of that, the Ohio State offense, is there a problem area that they will be presented with from the Indiana defense that you've seen?
Here's the thing. This defense is not necessarily the biggest defense you're going to see. They're a little bit undersized. Don't play a ton of man, run a lot of zone, but they're really good in their zone drops. Their vision and break is great. You can watch the guys move. They're all on a string. They drive the ball really hard. They'll miss some tackles, but they fly the football at such a great clip. I believe they're maybe plus 27 on the turnover margin, or they've gotten 27 this year. Like they do a great job creating turnovers. And when that ball goes on the ground, they get it because they run to the football so hard. They play with great effort. They're really well coached. You know, they don't necessarily take on a lot of blocks. They're not the biggest, most physical teams, but they like to be able to spill things to the outside, use their speed, and be able to run and scrape and get there. Aiden Fisher, the middle linebacker, is a heck of a ball player. You know, they don't necessarily blitz him a ton, but they line him up, you know, back at 5 yards and kind of flush everything to the outside. He's been really good in the open field making plays.
What do you make of the corners? That's my biggest concern for Indiana. They just don't have great length. And if you're playing Ohio State, you better be able to win some one-on-ones. And I love D'Angelo Pons from a competitor standpoint, from an instinct standpoint, but he's 5'9". And he's playing against guys that are 6'3" and change. Does that concern you if you're Indiana?
I think that's where the matchup ultimately comes down. And if you look at Ohio State when they played Indiana last year, you know, Indiana's got some really good players. They play really, really hard. I don't know outside of Mendoza that they have any like top flight NFL guys. They've got some really talented guys and guys that are really good college football players. But I think that's where you'll probably see the asymmetry, which is what Ohio State does to a lot of guys. And as soon as, you know, I saw 17-4 out there on Saturday against Michigan, I knew it was going to be a tough day because it limits what you can do in coverage. If you want to go single high and try to get an extra guy down in the box to stop the running game, both Tate and Smith are going to be able to chew you up. And that's the problem is they're so tall, they're so physical, and they're so fast. They do a great job high pointing the football. And it's really, really tough to defend if you're going to try to do any type of single high coverage. So you really have to disguise it. You have to hold it late. Michigan did a great job early on against Julian Sayin. I mean, they sat there, they showed single high, then they played trail underneath, a little two trail. They run the safety over top, and, you know, he throws a pick to start the game. And so if you can maybe bait a young quarterback into one of those, I mean, that would be huge. They force a lot of turnovers. I don't know if you can get Julian Sayin more than once on something, so you're probably going to have to keep spinning the wheel. But those guys on the outside, Greg, that's really the difference makers for this team because it limits you to what you can do defensively.
Bobby Carpenter, former Ohio State linebacker, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking Big Ten championship game. Do I make anything out of the rushing yards that have been allowed recently? It's almost like this weird bookend of Ohio State defensive performances. Now, the games have been handled, so that part you remove, and maybe that's a big part of the question here, but there were a couple 200-yard performances against them early. Things get worked out. It's not a big deal. And now a couple of 200-yard performances on the ground here late. Is that just sort of happenstance of where the games were, being out of control? Do we make anything more of it?
You know, I look at when you're in a 3-score game, a lot of the yards that come after that in the second half, to me, you know, they used to call those, you know, meaningless garbage yards that you're getting. And I believe Michigan, I think they had 108 yards rushing in the first half, and I think they had lost, you know, 8 or 10 in the second half. I mean, they really were negated. I want to say of their 40-some-odd plays, close to 50 plays, almost 40 of them were for 2 yards or less. So, you know, they gave up a couple big pops there in the first half and really kind of got that cleaned up. So the biggest thing with Matt Patricia is, and also, Cole, when they were rotating heavily in some of those games to keep reps off of their guys. Later against, you know, the Purdue's, the UCLA's, Rutgers, you know, and especially Rutgers. I mean, Greg Shaw's going out there. They got a tough team. They're going to play to win. And so you're going to get a drive at the end of the game, and you let them have it, obviously, with your second team. And you force them to, you know, do it the hard way and matriculate down the field as opposed to giving up the big shot. But, yeah, I'm not overly worried. The front seven of this defense has been really good all year. They've got great linebackers. And Caden McDonald in the middle is probably a defensive tackle that nobody talks enough about, with just his ability to control the apex of that defense.
And finally, Bobby, as you kind of evaluate this defensive front seven for Ohio State, a lot's been made of just how good they are. I think they're very disruptive, super athletic. I like them a lot. I just don't know if they've played anybody yet. Is that a fair assessment about whether or not Indiana can block them, whether or not Indiana will block them, and Fernando Mendoza's ability to kind of extend plays and keep things alive? Is that at all a concern from Ohio State's vantage point?
You know, I mean, haven't played anybody. I mean, Michigan was the 15th ranked team in the country. They played Texas obviously earlier. I heard you guys talking. Washington got Damon Williams. They've got some really talented players that can do some stuff. It's if they played maybe the second best team in the country, probably not. But yeah, I think physically they'll be able to handle it. And the one thing obviously up front, they've been really good. They've got some horses up there. I mean, if Arvell Reese chooses to come out, I'm sure he'll probably be one of the first players off the board. But I mean, they also go against this Ohio State offense every day in practice, and that I think helps bode well for both sides of the ball, especially when you're trying to work against elite receivers. You're not going to see two better guys than you see in practice every day.
I don't think there's any doubts. Is there a weakness in Julian Sayen's game?
I mean, I guess the one thing, he's a redshirt freshman, and I mean, he's a little bit like Greg McElroy. He's a good athlete, not a great athlete, so he can move around a little bit. He can make some plays, but obviously he's not a guy that's running a 4-5 out there. But he's got good pocket presence and everything. And honestly, a part of it, and it's a little joke at Greg there, but I mean, you just don't know what you don't know, and it's his first year as a starter, so there is a lot of room to continue to grow for him. But like you look at the physical measurables, like he is what he is, and that's what God made him. He's not going to be Cam Newton and never will be, but I don't know if he necessarily needs to do that because he sees the field so well, and he's got a silky smooth release, and he does a great job of putting the ball with accuracy.
Has he been hit? Like, I don't remember a game where he's been hit. Seriously,
literally at all? Once?
I mean, I know he's I know he's been tackled. Has he been hit? That's a big difference.
The play that he made, gosh, was it against, I want to say maybe Illinois, where he slid out of the pocket, drifted to the side and threw the ball. Like, he doesn't get hit a ton because this offensive line is so good, but he has shown that he can move really well within the pocket and avoid some of those big shots.
Hey, Bobby, we appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Appreciate your breakdown, thoughts on Ohio State for this Big Ten title game. Going to be a good one, and we'll do it again soon, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. You guys have a good one.
All right, there you go. Bobby Carpenter joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Can hear him on radio in Columbus. Can hear him on SiriusXM as well. Does a great job discussing college football. We'll continue to do it on the other side right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Big Ten championship game coming up this weekend. It is going to be monstrous. And, Greg, I thought you brought up a great point that the balance that Ohio State going to see. Haven't had Washington is probably going to be up there as closest. I don't know if Michigan is proficient enough in the passing game to be able to be that similar type challenge. I do think Michigan has some young receivers that have some real juice, and they're pretty good in the screen game. But just attacking all portions of the field through the air, you're not getting that from them right now. Illinois maybe next when you're talking about just true balance after Washington. And again, Texas we both believe is up there, but it's the first game of the season. Nobody really knows what they have exactly. Think how different Texas is now than then. That's not even really – I don't feel like we should even put that into this discussion quite yet. But there haven't been many, man. There haven't been many games in which this defense has seen a ton of balance. Teams that can go a different direction offensively at any time. And Indiana is absolutely going to offer that up.
Yeah, I think Indiana is a team that can win one-on-ones. I think it's a team that can run it. It's a quarterback that can thread the needle. Like, they kind of have everything that you would want going into a matchup like this. I think it's a really good spot to be. And personally, I think Indiana is as well-rounded a team as I've seen this year. Do you see them the same way? I just absolutely think they have all the goods. Really am a believer.
Well, it's like I did Josh's show last night, and he's like, give me one thing that's just kind of on your mind collectively in college football right now, like a big picture topic that you think not enough people are talking about. And I said, it's pretty easy. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Why is no one even mentioning Indiana as possibly the best team in the nation?
Because because they don't have a silver helmet, scarlet uniform, and Buckeye stickers on their side of their helmet. But if you look at their profile, if Indiana, you'd replace Indiana with Michigan, there's a lot stronger. I think there's a lot more support for them potentially being the top team in the country.
I don't think there's any doubt. And that's what, and Josh, he pointed to the Indiana logo and he said, I think it's a lot this.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's the second year in a row now that we've seen it with different cast of characters for the most part. So there's got to be something there to the reality of this that people need to start coming to grips with. And there's a lot of people that just either won't or don't want to. But the balance part of it is where I think you and I are going to find that much more attractive than a lot of casual fans, because you don't have those superstar players and you don't have the logo to go along with it. And there's not a lot of 4 and 5 year guys there that we've been paying attention to that have been uber successful in all college football that we're like, oh, yeah, well, we know they got that guy. We know they got that guy. Like Mendoza gets a good amount of run. He probably gets enough credibility for what he's done. Deservingly so. Probably deserves more, but still, he gets a good amount of discussion. Not a lot of other guys do. And I just don't know why anyone ever brings up the fact that this could be, because everything we just talked about with Ohio State, Greg, should lead us to ask the question, well, then are they the best team in college football? And so on the flip side of that, we should be asking Indiana, could they be? And it's almost like neither one of those conversations anybody really wants to have.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone's ready to go there yet because it's risky. Like, you back Ohio State in this game, it's like, oh, well, Ohio State's the better team. They've won. We've seen them win. We've never seen Indiana win like this. Like, seeing it for the first time is a hard thing to get on board with. Like, how many people, I don't know what you were doing, but in 2009, answer me this. And the reason why this game's come up a couple times, because it's the last time a 1 versus 2 played each other in a conference championship game. It was the last time two 12-0s played each other in a conference championship game. How many people were comfortably taking the Florida Gators in 2009 in the SEC title? A lot, right? I'm sure they were. Why wouldn't they be? They'd seen Florida do it before. They hadn't seen Alabama do it. You know what I mean? Until they did it. And then it became very easy to pick Alabama going forward. But seeing it for the first time is hard. I mean, seeing it before it happens is hard. You know what I mean? I mean, what side were you on in the Florida-Bama game in 2009, Cole? Probably on Florida, right?
Yes. Oh, no, I was.
Of course. Like, because seeing something for the first, and who would blame you? Like, seeing something for the first time is hard to forecast that. Seeing something done for the 12th time in the last 25 years is easy. Ohio State has won the Big Ten a lot. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really believe this is an Indiana team that can break through. I think there is complete a team in college football as you'll find. Do they have a couple disadvantages? Sure. I think they're on the perimeter defensively against these wideouts. But it doesn't mean they can't create more pressure than Julian Sands ever seen. Doesn't mean they can't get hands on the ball a couple times. I mean, I think it's going to be a heck of a game.
No, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what it potentially could turn into, because I think there's a lot of spots that in this game could go different ways. And then, too, like we said, these aren't massive questions, because at the end of the day, we know both these teams are great. Both these teams are elite. And there's not going to be a ton of damage done either way, whoever wins, loses this game. But because there are small questions out there of, is this the best team? Is this team that much further ahead of all the other teams? We could get answers to some of those when these two teams face off Saturday night, and what's going to be a extremely enjoyable Big Ten title game. So a lot more to come. Before we get to it, Greg, tell our listeners about Canty.
Well, Canty can fix it. Cantey can fix it. And they're the foundation specialists here in the area. And we know there's a million things in Alabama that lead to problems with your foundation. That's the soil, shifting or uneven ground, moisture, weather, lots, including just the age of your home. So if you're seeing cracks in the walls and the floors, around the windows and the doors, if you're seeing uneven or sagging floors, it kind of feels like the house might be sloping away and the doors and windows might not be sticking properly. You need to potentially take a look at your foundation. And you can do so by calling Canty Foundation Specialists. They offer free inspections and estimates so homeowners know exactly what's going on under their house, and their work is backed by lifetime transferable warranties. So call them today at 205-509-3991 or go online to Canty, C-A-N-T-E-Y, canfixit.com. That's Canty, canfixit.com.
All right, when we come back, more of a Max Ball Friday next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys being in. A lot more to get to here on a Max Ball Friday. We've mentioned a lot of the Big Ten championship game. We've mentioned the SEC championship game. Some of those games coming up tonight too. Sunbelt title game, 6 o'clock ESPN. Troy, JMU. We mentioned the line, Greg, the points a little bit too much, but are you taking JMU to win this one tonight?
I am, yeah. I know. I actually think ultimately JMU will cover. I just think it's going to be tight early. So I'm actually on the other side of you on this one. I think I would lay them. I just would not be surprised if Troy has a couple tricks up their sleeve early, and just because JMU's playing a little close to a vest, maybe a little tight, knowing what might be on the line for them, I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull away in the second half.
All right, I will take JMU not to cover tonight, but we'll stay with them to win the football game and be Sunbelt champions. 6 o'clock tonight on CBS Sports Network. Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, CUSA championship game. You feel good about one side of this one tonight?
I'm struggling with this one. This is probably the toughest one on the weekend for me to try to pick, because I really, really like what I've seen so far from Jacksonville State. Like, went and peeked at them a little earlier this week. There's a lot to like about that football team. But a couple of questions around this one. Kennesaw State struggles to stop the run. I mean, that's one of the trickiest parts. And if you look at Jack State,
they pound it.
They pound it. I mean, their backs and their quarterback,
yep,
they're all about running the football. And if for whatever reason you struggle to stop the run, you're going to have your hands full against Jack State. The other thing is, when you look at how much will Amari Odom be able to handle things? That's the quarterback for Kennesaw. And they did a good job of kind of adjusting what they've become this year offensively. They were kind of an option-based attack to becoming a little more spread this year. And there was quite a bit of pressure that he faced in their first matchup. And he took a couple sacks. So I lean Jack State here, but I don't feel super confident about it.
Well, no, because you turned Amari Odom over 3 times in that game.
Right.
Actually was benched, but you did have 252 yards on the ground. I'm going to go Jacksonville State at home. I'm a little concerned also because if you remember, I went in with our upset pick of the week a few weeks ago when they made that trip to FIU and thought they had a chance to go dominate that game because Keon Jenkins wasn't even going to be in at quarterback for FIU, and you find a way to lose it even after Joe Pasansky threw 2 interceptions in that game for the Panthers. So, but you did bounce back, got a nice win against a good Western Kentucky team after that. So I'm with you. I'll ride Jacksonville State tonight. I think they get the win, and I think you got first-year head coach becoming Conference USA champions. That'd be pretty sweet if they can pull that off.
But here's the thing on that one, like you said, dude. That to me, to anticipate, they won that game by 9 first time around. That was the only game I watched, to be honest with you. So it's not like I was diving in the weeds on multiple games and like a multi-game breakdown. But I don't think Kennesaw could have played worse, and they lost by 9. You know what I mean? That's a little concerning to me. Like, will they possibly play that bad again? It's hard to envision. So I like Jack State, but I don't love Jack State, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. North Texas Tulane tonight. We kind of broke it down a little bit. Don't think we'll spend too much time on it in the final hour of the show, Greg. I don't see how I can go Tulane in this one. Summerall finds ways to win games, but North Texas just scores. Like, they just score. So I'm going to ride North Texas in this one tonight.
Well, here's the key stat here. North Texas is number 1 in the country in throwing the rock. They're top 3 in yards per pass. And the Green Wave give up over 250 a game through the year. That is 121st. So if you can't stop the pass, you got problems. So they better hope they can sack Mestamaker. And with this style of offense, I'm not sure they can.
UNLV Boise also tonight, 7 p.m. on Fox. We'll discuss that one amongst others on the other side when a Max Ball Friday continues on Jocks.